Who are we? I'm going to try and answer that question by starting with another question. Keep in mind that this is only the second time I've attempted to read what I've written out loud, so there will be revisions. Now, why do we believe in gods? Why, for as far back as we can go in known history, have humans documented this pull to the otherworldly? The feeling didn't start with Christianity, nor did it start with the ancient Greeks, Egyptians, Old World Mesoamericans, or any peoples of the ancient worlds. It started with having an experience that cannot be explained, and the existence of these experiences likely goes back to the start of it all. The origin of the idea of God has been lost to time. We have forgotten that it was an entirely experiential understanding for many millennia, with the only evidence being passed down being through symbols and stories that have turned into myths and legend. You're probably asking yourself right now, how the fuck are you going to tie this into anything we've talked about for class? You're probably asking yourself right now, how the fuck are you going to tie this into anything that... Okay, let me get the revisioned part up a little bit. Okay, I took that part out. So it turned into myths and legend. I see, okay. My case is this. Death, for all intents and purposes, is the key to life. And this experience that I speak of is our power to die before we die. There's been many philosophers in past that have shared their ideas of how we need to come to terms with our mortal demise. And this is the ability of humans to change our way of living in the world. And I too hold the position that we can drastically alter our experience of the world by utilizing what can most simply be explained as a near-death experience. I hope you will excuse me for not addressing the transcendental reasons someone could come up with to dismiss my argument. It can be said that the entire text here is nothing more than free speech gone wrong, and we should forget every word. Hell, I said it myself. Though, this is unlikely, as I have a pretty decent memory. This experience I speak of is not something I'd like to try and put into words. For those that have had such an experience should know exactly what is meant, and those that have not will be blind to the truth. The mysteries of life cannot be divulged so easily to the uninitiated, especially by someone who does not claim to be an adept and with little skill for articulation. I believe the best I have to offer are aphorisms, if you can call them that may help some in understanding the inexplicable, mostly myself. So, what exactly am I saying? If it has not become clear to you yet, it will make itself apparent regardless. I believe you know exactly what I speak of. It's no fun if I reveal my entire hand. The thrill comes from playing the table and trying to read your opponent. In this case, it's me. But don't worry, because I'm really trying to make this easy on you. This is some of my best stuff, I must say. So I hope you come out of it, at the very least, with the thought, what the hell was that dude thinking? The only reference for this paper is going to be here. So I'll refrain from coming up with some sort of citation procedure. The whole of mankind, even the best minds of the best ages, with one exception, perhaps hardly human, have permitted themselves to be deceived. This all too mysterious sentence was uttered by Nietzsche in his book, The Antichrist. The reason I'm including this is because I just now read it, and the idea immediately jumped from the page. A funny thing is, this is not my first time reading the book, so it goes to show that one read is never sufficient, especially for Nietzsche. So let me reread it. The quote says, "The whole of mankind, even the best minds of the best ages," and then in parentheses, "with one exception, perhaps hardly human," end parentheses, have permitted themselves to be deceived. At first, I had no clue what to make of this. I mean, who could he possibly be referring to? Then it dawned on me, and I felt pretty stupid. 8. I suppose you could say I have no basis for my argument, that all of this has nothing to do with anything. I would agree with you. It's not like I believe all this stuff. I mean, really, does it seem likely at all that the answer to life is always there at our fingertips, just waiting to be touched? That sounds insane, doesn't it? But wait, isn't this exactly how we perceive the world? That at any moment life could change forever. That a decision determines the path our lives take. And perhaps that we ourselves have the power of infinity. 9. It could be said that I haven't given any explanation for the connection between an experience that I talk about and the belief in God. But it's there. Come on, you really haven't recognized it yet? Jesus knew it, Nietzsche knew it, and he knew the ancient Greeks knew it. And they certainly didn't conjure that up themselves, no matter how much credit we'd like to give them for the entirety of advanced civilizations. It's always been there. We just have to remember. 10. A great human once said, "We are a species with amnesia." Inherited, created, or both. That's not in the scope of this paper. What is clear, though, is that we all recognize it, whether conscious or unconscious, if you believe in that sort of thing. And we most certainly have the power to remember. Now, I'm asking you this. Why do we believe in gods? And I'm telling you this. We just need to remember. I don't know if I can give you any more than that. To end, if you yourself are an initiate of the mysteries, then this has all been futile, and it would have been much more productive to speak openly of our shared understanding. Alright, that came from chapter 1 of the mysteries. And as I said, it's still under revision. Many words, phrases need to be removed because it was written for a select audience. But I think anybody listening can get past that part of it and try to discern the meaning and get some understanding out of what I'm saying. I opened with that today because I want to ask the question, how do we be who we are? That's right. I want to tackle the question, how do we be who we are? Or how do you be who you are? And honestly, I don't think it's an easy question to answer. The parts of it are gonna be including the will to power, which means we have to talk about being a creating one, and to transcend these moral values and valuations of our actions. We have to transcend the morality because that's just it's a reaction. It's a secondary effect of something that has already happened, to try and categorize it and try and make sense of it to us. That's what we use morals for. That's why we say we hold certain values, because they are there to guide us, to help our bodies feel their way through the world. Well, it's more like to help our mind explain to ourselves what our bodies are feeling. Right? Because our bodies go through life, feel things, react by, making you feel something. And then we have to use our minds to think through that feeling. Think about how or why we're feeling it. And there's a lot of gray area that is there. Lots of disingenuous information and kind of just things there to throw you off the path. To be who you are. That is the question. It's what every single human struggles with. It is universal to every living being. They're all struggling with being who they are. think the steps to, allowing yourself to be who you are kind of goes like this. Like, I think you have to realize, and it's hard, but you have to affirm to yourself that this is all there is. This is all that has been, and this is all that will ever be. And I struggle with saying that because I know that things change, things are changing, we have no idea where we're going, what we might do, accomplish, change. But I still believe the statement that this is all there is holds true. Because with that awareness, it really helps in centering yourself and guiding you along that path that is there in front of you and behind you and right under your feet. If you just stay aware that this is all there is, it's a lot easier to stay on that path rather than just like drift off into the right or the left. Rather than just allow yourself to drift in all of nothingness into just at random see the path or stumble upon it. You can do that and it'll get you somewhere. It's still your life. All I'm saying is you can choose to be aware. And you can affirm to yourself that this is all there is. And I think if you can keep that in mind, it'll really be helpful. I struggle with it. I really do. I have to affirm it to myself and remind myself a lot that this is all there is. And when I tell myself it, like, I don't want to believe myself. I don't want to believe that this is all there is. I really want to believe that there's more out there, that at the same time, I think that saying this is all there is still leaves the door open. Because it's pretty ambiguous. Because there's still things we don't know about and aren't aware of at all times. We don't have the knowledge or understanding to comprehend many, many, many things. So much of the world. We simply have no knowledge and understanding to comprehend it. So usually we just make something up to fill in that void and make ourselves feel better. Make ourselves feel like, oh yeah, we understand that. Now we can not think about it anymore. I think there's more out there. Things we can't see, detect, feel. I mean, we might be able to feel them, but we don't know how to think about those feelings our body has at those times. So, confuses us. But I think there's more here. Right now. Right in front of us. Within us, even. And saying this is all there is it has a unspoken sense of acceptance that whatever there is simply is, whether we understand it or not. Something isn't present and real just because we can understand it, use words to help others comprehend it. That's not what makes things real. Not at all. I think saying this is all there is like saying I am who I am. And some of you may know the famous person that once said that. I am who I am. Leaves the door open for a lot. It's pretty ambiguous. Yet, it says a lot. It really does. It says that we change, yet we're always who we are and who we've been. Which means whatever change that happens, however we change, we're always going to be who we are. And there's no way around that. There really isn't. We're always going to be who we are. You're not going to be able to escape that. So that's why you have to deal with the question, how do we be who we are? I said it involves the will to power, which involves being a creating one. Now, the will to power. There's a lot going on there, especially because a lot has been made of it that just, it's just that. A lot has been made of it, yet nobody really can claim that they fucking understand it or even know what Nietzsche's saying there. So I just want to throw my 2 cents into the mix. Our will to power defined. I wrote this January 11th, 2022. It seems to have been widely misinterpreted as something with ill will, malevolent. It is literally all we have. The ability to be ... godlike. It was likely misconstrued when we took a power dynamics perspective towards society. Marx really fucked things up. It is our natural ability for taking action. Thoughts lead to ideas. These can then be put into action, completing a cycle of the will to power. With this, we will have created action from thought, something finite out of the infinite, to manifest reality from what is only dream. In short, we will have changed the world. This, my friends, is our will to power. Emphasis on our will to power, not the will to power. When did we lose this understanding? Nietzsche had to remember it. Christianity tried to snuff it out. Their goal was for us to forget who we were, which renders our will useless and turns our power against ourselves. It only takes one generation to misinterpret and then misrepresent their ancestral knowledge to really throw us off course. Yet, it also only takes one person to remember who they are, what we've always been. It only takes one person to remember who they are, what we've always been, to get things back on track. This one person must know that all that has come before them, all that is yet to come, and all that is what we call the present is, let me repeat, all of it is one and the same. So when I talk about the will to power, Nietzsche's will to power, my mind goes to it being our just natural process, humans' natural ability and process of creation. Nietzsche says the will to power is the will to life, and that the will to power is life itself. That's why I think it's okay for me to say that the will to power is just, it's very simple. It's our ability to create. And how do we create? It starts with thoughts. Thoughts turn into ideas. And we use ideas to take action. And then action changes something. Taking action means that you are putting yourself out into the world and causing change. But I want to take a step back now because I said thoughts. I said it starts with thoughts, and thoughts turn into ideas, and ideas can be used to create action. But I want to back up because before thoughts, as I have talked about, are feelings. And feelings do not come from thoughts, feelings, or emotions. They come from the world. That might sound strange, but it happens through an intermediary, which is our body. Our body receives signals, frequencies, vibrations, everything that's out there. Our body is like an antenna that receives all of the input. And this causes emotions, feelings. And this is what gives rise to thoughts. So, the will to power redefined would be you're out in the world, you experience something that causes your body to feel a certain way, which then makes your mind think thoughts in relation to how your body is feeling, how, why, whatever. And with enough thoughts, you'll come up with an idea that explains how or why. And then you have the choice to take action in line with that idea or remain actionless. Remaining actionless, at the very least, leaves you with some awareness, because you went through the thoughts and you came up with an idea. So at least you've got some awareness after that. But if you really want to change things, you have to take action. And if we're in our example of being out in the world, having an experience that makes you feel something, going through the thoughts that those feelings cause to come up with an idea about how or why, then you have the choice to act on that how or why to either make it happen again in the future, like use action to affirm what has happened and make sure that it's going to happen again in the future. Or you could do the opposite and use action to try and make sure whatever happened never happens again. Or you can choose to be actionless and just be aware that these things happen. You may never be able to change whether these things happen or don't happen. It's most likely that you cannot change whether something will or won't happen again in the future. It's very, very most likely you cannot change that. I think, so like I said, remaining actionless, at the very least, gives you awareness. It allows you to be aware. But I think the biggest part of taking action and going a step past just being aware is essentially helping others to be aware. Because if you just stay in your state of awareness without action, then then you're not helping others. You're only being aware and whatnot, but you're not teaching others to be aware. You're not helping them understand. We're at the point now where we're told not to question what we're being told, and then we don't even question the fact that we're told not to question things. I wrote this on the 2nd of... Oh, wait, no. I wrote the following on the 26th of February, 2022. And the prompt was write satire. Call the cops. I'm committing a crime. They'll be here soon, so I'll make this short. Whether you like me or not, we can all agree that what I'm doing is wrong. It could be the greatest offense ever occurred. I mean, the nerve to not wear a fucking mask. After 2 years of this bullshit and you're still not complying? You're probably thinking, I've got the vaxes. I'm wearing a mask. Even sometimes outside in the filthy, plague-ridden fresh air of Mother Earth. Because we nasty humans have caused all this global climate change and poisoned the air with carbon dioxide. And hey, I voted strongly agree on a YouTube poll on approval rating of Biden's dealing with Putin, Russia, where 2% strongly agreed and 67% strongly disagreed out of 177,000 votes. But the channel doing the poll is full of videos of Biden making a fool of himself unintentionally. So you know the results will be skewed. Let me remind you, Dictator Trudeau is in direct opposition to Putin. Now, the US is obviously innocent in all that happens, and we clearly have no ties to Ukraine. So there's no reason in thinking we could be doing anything but prepare for World War III, because crazy Russian bear man is the new Hitler, I guess. It's crazy to think someone would not want to wear a mask when we have all these new things to worry about that have made us forget the rights we are giving up because we're just trying to keep everybody safe from the virus that they're trying to make you scared of by mandating masks. One sec. Ego crushes. Next page. Seriously, if you haven't called the cops yet, you probably should. Remember that what I'm doing right now is wrong, and I'm putting all of you in danger by not wearing a mask because I could catch COVID at any point and spread it to others immediately without me ever knowing. Even if you never get symptoms and never know if you've come into contact with someone who may or may not be asymptomatic and may or may not catch COVID at any point, which puts you in danger because this person may or may not be wearing a mask. We're betting our lives and the lives of our loved ones on these things, so they better damn well work. Of course, I believe masks work. And I think they're working exactly to plan. Now, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, but the truth is right in front of us, always. That is, we can't forget about Joe Rogan saying the N-word 20 times over the past 10 years, because that's the most obvious thing we can point to that reminds us all that we're racist white people which we are, and that there needs to be certain words and ideas we never utter or talk about. We're all racist fucks because we have no claim to the land we're on. And it would be better off if we left it to the ancestors of the original natives, who we mislabel now as African Americans, to alienate them. Then we continue to treat them like slaves. I wish we could all get along, but the only way for Turtle Island to heal herself is if racist white fucks are exiled. That's all of us. Now, since natural immunity and immune systems don't get talked about, we know they don't exist. Therefore, all we have to protect us are the gene editing vaccines that totally work as long as you take 4 per year. Also, the masks, which we should be so happy about being forced to wear because they protect us from ourselves. I love wearing masks. Praise be to science. Praise science and do not question it. Fauci protects us. Not to mention the drug companies selling and campaigning for these vaxes routinely pay billions of dollars in criminal fines. That was just another little excerpt from Anthony's Red Book. To be who you are means exactly that. Being who you are. And that's going to be different for everybody because everybody is themselves. Everybody is who they are. Everybody needs to say and affirm to themselves with a statement of fact. That is, I am who I am. And that's it. That's what you have to do. Then you have to move forward and be who you are. And to do that, you have to do everything you've been doing while changing and creating something new. Creating yourself anew. So, honestly, really, being who you are and becoming who you are, they're really the same thing. They really are. They're different, but they're the same, because once you do become who you are, you're just being who you are at that point, but yet you're still becoming something new and different and creating yourself anew, which means you're always becoming who you are continuously, because who you are is always changing. So to be who you are is to continue the process of becoming who you are under the awareness of who you are. Like, fuck, that made no sense whatsoever, and I realized that, and it sounded like total mumbo jumbo, so I'm sorry. I still kinda think I'm right, though. It's up to everybody. It's up to themselves to be who they are. Nobody can teach you how. Nobody can tell you what you need to do, what steps you need to take to become who you are and be who you are. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. For it appears to me that among the many exceptional and divine things your Athens has produced and contributed to human life, nothing is better than those mysteries. For by any means of them we have been transformed from a rough and savage way of life to the state of humanity and have been civilized. Just as they are called initiations, so in actual fact we have learned from them the fundamentals of life and have grasped the basis not only for living with joy, but also for dying with a better hope. Just so you know, that wasn't me or my words. That was just some dude from the 1st century BC talking about the Greek temple in Eleusis. Honestly, if you want to figure out who you are so that you can start becoming that person and then start being that person, honestly, just take some fucking mushrooms, guys. Like 2.3 grams will do it of dried mushrooms. That's my personal experience. If you take an eighth, it's going to be about 1.5 grams too much for you to fully comprehend what happens when you take it. At a level of 2 to 2.5 grams, you're able to be fully fucking aware the entire time as everything happens. When you exceed that number, you're going to lose some of your awareness, and you're only going to have periodic awareness, which will feel like it'll feel like things are getting revealed to you and things are getting like it'll feel like knowledge and understanding is getting imparted into your brain, like it's getting just like it's just like a beam of fucking understanding and information that's going straight into your brain. That's what it's like on a eighth. But if you're down to 2 grams, at least for me, being a somewhat experienced user, I was able to hold my awareness the entire time, which didn't make it seem like such a otherworldly experience. It didn't seem like anything different. It was all reality. It was revealing all that there is by putting it right in front of my face. So, honestly, y'all gotta take some mushrooms. But I suppose my goal is to get you to that point of post mushroom trip without you actually having to take the mushrooms, without having to go through that intense experience that, not everybody can handle. Not everybody can process any of it. Most times you wake up the day after a trip and you hardly remember a fucking thing. All you know is that some crazy shit happened last night, and I don't even want to think about a lot of it because it's like, that's how it was for me a lot. I know it's like that for other people because these hallucinogens, whatever, psychedelics, these things make us uncomfortable. They make us feel things we don't necessarily want to feel. But really, it is all for the better in the end. And that's the biggest that's the biggest thing anybody needs to be aware of going through that type of experience is that it's all for the better. It's all necessary. It's it all has a purpose. It's all connected. And if you choose to fight it and think badly of it and think that something bad might be happening to you, you're deceiving yourself. And you're trying to trick yourself into thinking that there's some danger in it. But there's there's really only good to come out of it. Even if it sends you down a dark hole that really fucks things up. Even then, there's always, even then, it's beneficial. Self destruction is self creation. The process of creating something new begins with destroying what was. No, you don't always have to do that. You don't always have to destroy what was to create something new. You can do that to a certain degree where you just kind of you change what is there by taking some aspects away from it and putting in new aspects. And I think that's kind of what we need to do with institutions and government and whatnot. Like these things are beneficial to society and we do need them. But I think if we could just go in there and tweak it by taking out some aspects and putting in some new aspects, I think we can do that. And, really, really make things better without actually having to completely destroy what is already in existence. Like, I don't. What we have to do is, like, you know, the trick of pulling the tablecloth out from underneath the table. And if you can do it correctly, if you can do it good, everything on the table will still be exactly how it is. And stay in the same place and appear the same way. This is what we have to do. Because all our public institutions are built on a foundation of kitsch. So we need to pull that kitsch like it's a rug right out from the foundation. Just like as fast as we can, just rip it out and away. And then, we can burn it or something, whatever. I don't know. But the hope is that when we pull out the rug, pull out that tablecloth, that foundation of kitsch, when we pull it out, the hope is that everything that was built on top of it can stay in action. It can continue being what it is without that kitsch being taken away from it. But the reality of that is that, with something like religion, if you pull out the kitsch from the base of religion, like, it's not gonna be able to go on being how it is necessarily. Like, it's gonna crumble a little bit. Whatever has been built up is gonna crumble a bit. Think of like a 100-story skyscraper. Think of the foundation being pulled out from underneath that. It's going to start collapsing. And the way I see it is that in the end, not all of it is going to be turned into dust and just completely nothingness. I think in the end, as it collapses, some of it is going to remain intact. Whether it's the first 99 stories like collapsing down on themselves and then the last story sits there on top intact, or whether it's, the first 80 stories collapse and 20 of them remain intact, somewhat intact. Some of them just have some broken windows or something, or, some broken support beams and whatnot. When we pull out the kitsch from all of these social institutions, they're going to collapse. But I don't think it's going to be 100%. I think there's going to be something left over that we can continue to build on afterwards. But if we're living in a world of kitsch, which, currently we are, if we're living in a world of kitsch, then we're not aware of what's happening or why it happens. We're not really aware of much at all. Okay, I'm going to read A World of Kitsch. Those that willfully live in a world of kitsch are the curs of civilization. I say willfully because all there is to do is look around you and hear it everywhere in the air. Since it is something as easily ignored as it is noticed, we have every right to point it out. I say we are in a world of kitsch based on how easy it has become for people to manipulate others. For the better part of the past decade, people have devoted their lives to creating their specific kitsch. This trend has only increased since its inception, and I see it becoming a real integrated part of the culture. I mean, really, Why would anyone want to live the life they've been thrown into when it's possible to deny everything you choose to be negative and only present your positives? Kitsch is great in this way, yet I do not see it leading to many more benefits other than personal happiness that isn't even happiness in the first place because it's not based on reality. So, what I got to in that last sentence was saying that living in a world of kitsch can, it can make us happy and make us feel like we're living a fulfilled life that is, I don't know, making us happy. Kitsch can do that, but you're ignoring so much. You're you're choosing to live a life in a world of kitsch, which just puts who you are and what you can do and can be in. It puts you in about two boundary lines, and you have to stay within those lines. And the worst part of it is, like, I think that's okay to do if we create those boundary lines for ourselves and tell ourselves that, hey, we need to stay in between these two lines to kind of like get where we want to go. We can't go outside of the lines. Otherwise, that's going to be detrimental. I think we can do that for ourselves, but living in a world of kitsch, those lines, those boundary lines put around us, those aren't created by us. Those are created by something external, somebody else, or other people, or, well, yeah, other people. And other people are putting you in certain boundary lines, and they are trying to keep you in those boundaries. And you're led to believe that those boundaries are either good for you, they're there for a reason, they're there to, like help you and keep you on the right path. And that's what we're told. But it's just not true, because anybody who puts boundaries on somebody else is doing it for reasons that are like, they're definitely not doing it for the benefit of others. That's about it. Really not. There's no good that comes from putting other people in specific boundaries. It's just controlling people. And the only reason we control others, I mean, in today's day and age, the reason why we control others is usually for money, I think. Because most things revolve around money. Like a couple 100 years ago or 100 years ago, whatever, I don't know, trying to control people, I think part of it had to do with money, but part of it had to do with ignorance and thinking that what you're doing is actually helping other people by, controlling them, putting boundary lines around their existence. You deceive yourself in thinking that doing this helps other people. But it never helps anybody, I don't think. I don't think somebody... I don't think that helps anybody by somebody trying to control others. So I should be...